Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The men should finish so the ladies can start. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Namamishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Namamishwaram Namamishwaram Sachiranandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Jasoda Biyolukala Davamana Param Ristamatyanta Todutta Gopya Jasoda Biyolukala Davamana Param Ristamatyanta Todutta Gopya स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या इदं ते मुखं भोजमप्यक्तलीलाय वृत्तं कुन्तलैः स्निग्धरक्तैश्च गोप्या Chumbitam bimbaraptadarame Manashavirastamalam lakshilabha Muhuschumbitam bimbaraptadarame Virastamalam lakshilabha Namo Deva Damodarananta Vishnu Prasida Prabodukta Jalabhimadna Drasti vrastyate dinambatanu Vihane shamamatyane yakshidisha Kripa drasti vrastyate dinambatanu Shamamadyame Yakshidisha Kuveratmajo Bharamutaiva Yadva Vayamochita Bhakti Vajakrita Cha Swakam me prayacha Namokshe graho me stidamodare Tatta prema bhaktim swakam me prayacha Namaste to Damne Sporadipti Damne Madhyodarayata Dishpashya Tudamne Sporadipti Damne Pariyodarayat Dishpashadam.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All together, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, everybody, please. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, one more time, all together, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe,
Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe,
Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe,
Radha Gokula Nanda Shri Radhe,
Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara,
Damodara, Yashoda Damodara,
Yashoda Damodara, Yashoda Damodara.
Yashoda Damodara,
Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada,
Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada,
Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada,
Jaya Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Jagat Guru, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. One last one all together, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Shri Shri Radha Gokula Nanda Ki, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Shri Gaura Nitai Ki, Yashoda Damodar Ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki, Janitai Gaura Premanande.
Do you know how to open this harmonic? Yep. Thank you. Namo, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Vishnu Padaya, Vishnu Prasthaya,
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshadarine
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Yashoda Dula Girivaradhari Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dula Girivaradhari Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dula Girivaradhari Gopal Nanda Yashoda Dula Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dula Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dula Girivaradari Gopal. Jai Jai Nanda Yashoda Dula Girivaradari Gopal.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Shri Shri Giri Govardhan Maharaj Ki Jai. So, thank you for coming. We are celebrating Govardhan Puja. So we'll be singing Damodarastakam now until 7:30. And then at 7:30, Vishaka Prabhu, our very own temple president, will be giving a short class on Govardhan, followed by some more kirtan. And there will also be, is it happening? There will also be a small quiz about Govardhan as well. So please stick around for that if you want to test your knowledge and your understanding about Govardhan Maharaj. And there'll be kirtan throughout the rest of the evening as well, up until around 10:30. So there's lots happening. There's also prasadam being served just next door as well, until 8 o'clock. So please feel free to take prasadam as well. Hare Hare Krishna.
Shri Shri Yashoda Damodar Ki Jai. I might change her mind. I don't know, actually, yeah, I just took it off for a moment, but it might be a good idea. Namam Vishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajhamanam Namam Vishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajhamanam Namam Vishwaram Sachitanandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Vishwaram Sachit Anandarupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Virolukaradramanam Paramrista Atyanta Tojita Gopya Paramrista Matyanta Tojita Gopya Rudanta Mohanetram Yugmam Vijantam Karam Vaja Yugmena Santankanetram Vajakrita cha. Namo Deva Damodharananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukkha Jalabhimana. Kripadristi Vyati Dinamatanu Grihane Shamamagyame Dakshidishai. Kuberat Majobara Mudadayatma Tvayamachita Bhakti Vajakrita cha. Tata prema mati svagame prayacha. Namakshe grahame Sri Damodareha. Namaste Sudamne Spuradipti Damne Variyadarayana Vishwasya Damne. Namo Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai. To the Supreme Lord, whose form is the embodiment of eternal existence, knowledge, and bliss, whose shark-shaped earrings are swinging to and fro, who is beautifully shining in the divine realm of Gokula, who, due to the offense of breaking the pot of yogurt that his mother was churning into butter, and then stealing the butter that was kept hanging from a swing, is quickly running from the wooden grinding mortar in fear of Mother Yashoda, but who has been caught from behind by her who ran after him with greater speed. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Seeing the whipping stick in his mother's hand, he is crying and rubbing his eyes again and again with his 2 lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear, and the necklace of pearls around his neck, which is marked with the 3 lines like a conch shell, is shaking because of his quick breathing due to crying. To this Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, whose belly is bound not with ropes, but with his mother's pure love, I offer my humble obeisances. By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is conquered only by his devotees, whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is free from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for the boon of impersonal liberation, nor the highest liberation of eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon which may be obtained by executing the 9 processes of bhakti. O Lord, I simply wish that this form of yours as Balagopal in Vrindavan may ever be manifest in my heart. For what is the use to me of any other boon besides this? O Lord, your lotus face, which is encircled by locks of soft black hair tinged with red, is kissed again and again by Mother Yashoda, and your lips are reddish like the bimba fruit. May this beautiful vision of your lotus face be ever manifest in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. O Supreme Godhead, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Damodar, O Ananta, O Vishnu, O Master, O my Lord, be pleased upon me. By showering your glance of mercy upon me, deliver this poor ignorant fool who is immersed in an ocean of worldly sorrows and become visible to my eyes. O Lord Damodar, just as the 2 sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvera, were delivered from the curse of Narada and made into great devotees by you in your form as a baby, tied with rope to a wooden grinding mortar, in the same way, please give to me your own prema bhakti. I only long for this and have no desire for any kind of liberation. O Lord Damodar, I first of all offer my obeisances to the brilliantly effulgent rope which binds your belly. I then offer my obeisances to your belly, which is the abode of the entire universe. I humbly bow down to your most beloved Srimati Radharani, and I offer all obeisances to you, the Supreme Lord who displays unlimited pastimes. Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai.
Okay. So we're going to have, by the way, please feel free to come in a little closer. I know there's a big space here. Please feel free to come in. We may as well, there's not so many of us. And then we'll feel a little closer, we can be more involved in the evening. Unless you're sitting on a chair, don't worry. So we're going to have a short class, or perhaps somewhat of a discussion from what I understand. We have Her Grace Vishaka Prabhu, who's going to be reading a letter from Srila Prabhupada. Is that correct, Vishaka Prabhu? Yeah. And then we'll have the opportunity to discuss it together. And I believe it references at the topic of community. I don't want to say too much more about that because I'll let her talk about that. But if you don't know who Vishaka Prabhu is, and you will be sleeping under a rock for a long time if you don't know who Vishaka Prabhu is, she's one of Prabhupada's early disciples. She spent a lot of time with Srila Prabhupada. She's been devoted to serving Srila Prabhupada for her whole life. She's also an author. She wrote a wonderful book, 11 years, 5 years, 11 months, documenting her time and her experiences with Srila Prabhupada. So we're very, very fortunate, is what I'm trying to say, to have Vishaka Prabhu here with us. sharing her experiences and discussing what she's learned with all of us. So please do get involved, and then we'll continue with some more kirtan after that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay? A little bit? Yes? Hare Krishna. Just about. Okay. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvase Sasunyavadi Paskya Tadesha Tarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay. Thank you. So I'm so delighted to see you here this evening. Thank you so much for joining us for this evening festival of honoring Govardhan Puja and Diwali. So we wanted to have a discussion centered around our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who came at a very elderly age to the United States with no money to speak of, no friends. And he started this movement single-handedly, which has now encircled the whole world and involved people from every nationality, every race, in this wonderful effort to become closer to who we actually are, to understand ourselves, and to understand the Supreme Person. So this was not an easy task for Srila Prabhupada, but in the course of doing that, he gathered thousands of disciples to help him, and he wrote prolifically. Each day he would write something, and it became volumes of books. And he established temples and farming communities and schools. Quite a remarkable accomplishment. So in the course of guiding his society, founding and guiding it, he was dealing with very much beginners in spiritual life, novices. And they needed a lot of guidance along the way. And so for personal guidance, Srila Prabhupada would write many letters, at least 5,000 letters he wrote over the course of his time with us, giving all sorts of instructions and also consistently giving encouragement, explaining the philosophy and how to practically apply the philosophy in given situations. So these letters are very instructive. The downside of it is that we have the letters that Prabhupada wrote, but very often, most often, we don't have the letters or the incidents that inspired those letters to be written. So we have to a bit surmise, which can be difficult. But nonetheless, the letters are a great source of inspiration and knowledge. So I thought tonight, collectively, we could look at one very unique letter written in 1972, February, to a devotee named Atreya Rishi, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and try to understand Prabhupada's mood and his intention and motivation behind this letter, and how we ourselves can benefit today, so many years later, from reading it. So I'll read the first one, and then as we go through, I would like other people to read them, and perhaps we can go through them and then have a discussion about the letter. So this is, Prabhupada was in Bombay 4th of February, 1972. My dear Atreya Rishi, please accept my blessings. I am in due receipt of your very nice letter of January 10, 1972, and I'm very much pleased by the sentiments expressed therein. I might add at this point, Prabhupada never received a letter that he did not reply to. He said, to be responsible means to respond. Sometimes we get so many letters and we think, how can I? But the example of Srila Prabhupada is there, that he would respond to every letter that he received. And we can see it was about 3 weeks apart between the time he received the letter. Well, it was written in the 10th. We don't know when he received it, but when it was written, and his response is about 3 weeks. It is not so much that because there may be some faults in our God brothers and God sisters, or because there may be some mismanagement or lack of cooperation, that this is due to being impersonalists. No. So he mentions here 3 things. There may be faults, there may be mismanagement, and there may be lack of cooperation. But that, he says, is not to be due to being impersonalists. So perhaps we can have another reader.
It is the nature of the living condition to always have some fault. Even in the spiritual world, there is some fault and envy. Sometimes the gopis will quarrel over Krishna's favor. And once Krishna was so much attracted to Radharani that by mistake he tried to milk the bull instead of the cow. And sometimes when the gopis used to put on their dress and makeup for seeing Krishna, they would be too much hasty and smear kumkum and mascara in the wrong places, and their ornaments and dresses would appear as if small children had been trying to dress themselves, and they were not very expert like that. There are so many examples.
So this is very, very typical, one could say, of Srila Prabhupada, that he takes our situation, which appears to us very difficult and mundane, and he immediately takes us to the spiritual world and shows some comparison by which we can not only learn, but also be pulled out of our mundane situation and see it in an entirely new light.
But it is not the same as material fault or material envy. It is transcendental because it is all based on Krishna. Sometimes when one gopi would serve Krishna very nicely, the others would say, oh, she has done so nicely. Now let me do better for pleasing Krishna. That is envy, but it is transcendental, without malice. So we shall not expect that anywhere there is any utopia. Rather, that is impersonalism. People should not expect that even in the Krishna consciousness society there will be utopia.
So here Prabhupada is trying to make us realistic, that if we have artificially high expectations of joining a spiritual community, if we think there are going to be no problems, no faults, no mismanagement, no lack of communication or cooperation, then we can be disturbed when those things crop up. So he's helping us through his words here see that there's that although there are apparent faults, from what he said previously, in the spiritual world, actually they're not faults because they're not contaminated by this malice, but everything's centered on Krishna. And so people want to appreciate other devotees' efforts and also themselves try to emulate those efforts so that they can also please Krishna. But this is different from this idea that everything is perfect and faultless.
Because devotees are persons, therefore there will always be some lacking. But the difference is that they're lacking because they have given up everything to serve Krishna. Money, jobs, reputation, wealth, big educations, everything. Their lackings have become transcendental because despite everything they may do, their topmost intention is to serve Krishna. One who is engaged in devotional service, despite the most abominable action, is to be considered saintly because he is rightly situated.
So here also, I must say, I find this truly extraordinary, because Prabhupada, again, just as in the earlier paragraph, he was lifting us out of our material world and placing us into the spiritual world, comparing how the gopis are dressing and Krishna's milking a bull instead of a cow, just lifting us completely out of this mundane, temporary situation to the eternal, beautiful situation. So here also he's doing a very similar thing, saying these lackings, apparent lackings, are transcendental. Why? Because Krishna is in the center. The intention is to serve him. So again, it's this swoop that we're being lifted out of the mundane into the transcendent by Prabhupada's potency.
The devotees of Krishna are the most exalted persons on this planet, better than kings, all of them. So we should always remember that, and like the bumblebee, always look for the nectar or the best qualities of a person. Not like the utopians, who are like the flies, who always go to the open sores or find the faults in a person. And because they cannot find any utopia, because they cannot find anyone without faults, they may want to become void, merge, nothing. They think that is utopia, to become void of personality.
So here Prabhupada is very clearly enunciating the problem with this idea of perfection in a spiritual community, in a spiritual society. That one who has this false idea will become frustrated, disappointed, expectations are not met, and then they simply see the problems instead of seeing that those people who are trying, although they may be apparently full of faults, they're better than kings, the most exalted persons on the planet. What an extraordinary statement. Because why? They're trying to understand who they are, who the Supreme is, and their relationship with that Supreme Person. And because of that, they can have this vision of seeing the good rather than seeing the problems and the mismanagement and the lack of cooperation. So we'll go through this again, and I hope all of you can give input, your own thoughts about this. I'm just giving some thoughts.
So if there is sometimes slight disagreements between devotees, it is not due to impersonalism, but it is because they are persons, and such disagreements should not be taken very seriously. The devotee is always pessimistic about the material world, but he is very optimistic about the spiritual life. So in this way, you should consider that anyone engaged in Krishna's service is always the best person.
So again, Prabhupada is bringing us away from this idea of seeing the negativity, seeing the negative side, and trying to open us to the optimism and the positive side. This is good for us, and it's good for the community, it's good for the growth of the society, this positive side, to see what we're doing right. And also we can see how we can improve, but what we're doing right, so we can have this enthusiasm and forward motion towards Krishna as he is directing us.
I'm very pleased that you are assisting your God brothers so nicely. Yes, this is our real position, to be servants of the servants of the servants. And by your quiet and humble attitude, you shall set the example of Vaishnava, so that all may learn from you. And very soon their puffed up attitude will disappear, and they will come to you and seek your advice in matters.
So I was trying to say earlier Prabhupada's letters, you can note them for their thread of encouragement, consistent thread of encouragement in practically each and every letter, that he wants the devotees. He knows that we can excel. He knows that we can go past our apparent limitations and do something wonderful by the grace of Krishna. And so he wants us to step up to those possibilities. Here you see it here, that he's saying, your quiet and humble attitude, you'll set an example. Meanwhile, from the beginning of the letter, we can understand that Atreya Rishi was talking about impersonalism amongst the devotees. So Prabhupada is countering that and also giving him encouragement to move forward.
I am also encouraged that you are preaching to many businessmen acquaintances. That is very important work. So speak to them very frankly and with strength and conviction, and they will see that even you are yourself a big businessman with high position and salary. Still, you are a devotee, and they will also become devotees if you ask them. And if only a few of such big businessmen become devotees, they can change the whole world.
So Prabhupada himself was never affected by all the problems and there were many problems in the growth of his society, because he was dealing with novices amongst his disciples. His disciples, their parents very often would be opposed to what their children were doing, so that was another problem. Very often the laws in the community would prohibit the devotees from going on Harinam or doing other devotional activities. Devotees sometimes weren't getting along with each other, and yet Prabhupada himself, although these kind of reports were coming from all directions, he always remained so positive, saying, just a few such big businessmen become devotees and they'll change the world.
So it is very great and responsible task. Now do it very boldly. Krishna will reward you with all the success. The secret is to engage everyone, even big businessmen. So at first, engage them in some small way, so they will not feel threatened, but they will enjoy that small service so much. Automatically, they'll desire for more, and then gradually you convince them by strong arguments and engage them more and more. And then they will perfect their lives in Krishna consciousness, and go back home, back to Govardhan. Hope this will meet you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.
Thank you. So we can go back to the beginning, and I would love to hear your thoughts and reflections on this, what I consider quite an extraordinary and instructive letter from His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. You have some thoughts? Yeah.
First of all, thank you for this letter. It was just, as you say, very instructive. So, from this and the next slide, can I say what I understood? I understand Prabhupada is saying it's not, as long as we're people who are going to make mistakes. Even the gopis make mistakes. They put their clothes on wrong, they put their makeup on wrong. And as long as we're people, we're sometimes not going to cooperate with each other. There's sometimes lack of cooperation between Mother Yashoda and the gopas. She'd want something, they'd want something else. And sometimes there may be mismanagement, we'll get things wrong. That's just a part of being a person. But it's not a problem if we don't have any malice towards each other. If we don't want to harm each other, we want to assist each other. Those other problems don't have to be a big problem. And then I understood that Prabhupada was giving us the secret how we can see each other's faults without malice. He said, see what they've given up to serve Krishna. They've given so much up. And all they're trying to do is serve Krishna. If you can just see that one good quality, then you won't feel so vicious towards them for any other apparent faults. And then Prabhupada himself he goes on to see Atreya Rishi's good qualities. He ignores the fault of his fault finding, and he just focuses on his good quality and encourages that. That's what I got from the letter.
Thank you, that was beautiful, really beautiful.
I can ask a question. So, my question is because sometimes you hear different descriptions of who is a devotee, and so here Prabhupada is giving us, we hear it both ways many times. In this example, Prabhupada is giving it in a very, very generous description, that all his disciples are Krishna's devotees. And then at other times we hear that who is a devotee? A devotee is actually a very, very exalted personality. They have all of these different qualities that make them a devotee. And so when we're struggling with things in this material, in this world, and with our experiences with others, it becomes very easy to think, well, they're not really a devotee or like that. So I don't really know exactly what my question is, but I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on that, around that point.
Yeah, that's also mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Lord Chaitanya was discussing with residents of Kulinagram at one point. And he told them to always associate with devotees, with Vaishnavas. So they asked him, well, who is a Vaishnava? And as it happened, the same conversation went on 3 separate times when Lord Chaitanya met these residents. So the first time he said, a Vaishnava is anyone who is chanting Hare Krishna. Very broad, generous, as perhaps this is, definition. And the next time he says, the Vaishnava is one who himself is always chanting Hare Krishna. So it's another step up. And then the third time he said, the Vaishnava is one by, when you're in that person's presence, you become inspired to chant Hare Krishna. So again, it's another level. So there is a range of definitions for devotees. And Prabhupada very often takes a very generous definition. At one point in a morning walk, he was asked, how many pure devotees are there in the world? And he turned to one disciple and said, how many members are there in ISKCON? But at other times he would have a strict definition. So it depends on the situation. It's hard to have a discussion if people don't speak. Then we have a...
There was one slide which said Prabhupada encouraged the devotee to become quiet and humble.
Yes.
What if you're not actually by nature quiet and humble? Like, do you have hope in being a devotee and making progress? Or like, how do you engage somebody who's not quiet and humble? Does that make sense?
So your question is how to engage people who are not quiet and humble?
Yeah, I think, like, I often don't feel humble. And, you know, to the point I can't even write Your Aspiring Servant because I feel like it's not there right now. So there's a lot of emphasis being placed on a good devotee is quiet, a good devotee is humble. But what if you don't have those feelings? How do you then continue to serve or aspire to serve in that mood?
Well, there's different understandings of quiet and humble. Like there's 26 qualities of a devotee. So one of them is silent. Devotee is silent. So how to understand? Because Prabhupada was speaking all the time, so how is he silent? Silent in the sense that he doesn't speak anything that isn't Krishna-centered. That is a kind of silence. In other words, when we speak mundane information, that is noise, right? But if we're only speaking Krishna-centered topics, then that is considered silence, can be considered silence. And then as far as humble, Prabhupada gave a wonderful understanding of humility. He said that humility means that I accept that there is no one who can protect me except Krishna. Not my parents, not my family, not the police, not my community. My only protector is Krishna. So that is humble. So it doesn't mean that we're sitting in the corner, not saying anything and looking down. But rather, we have full faith in Krishna's presence and his ability to give us shelter. Please speak loudly.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, it's a really interesting letter, and just some of my thoughts and reflections on it was that, this point about because we are not impersonal, because we are people, we have differences. We're going to have differences of desires and opinions, and like that happens in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada's referring to the gopis, and they're having a difference of opinions, or even in the spiritual world there will be because they are people and individuals, there will be a noticing of a difference, and then a desire to serve, increasingly out of inspiration from observing someone else. So that was just a nice point. I was just kind of reflecting on, but coming to the community and here what we're dealing with is, I think, that it's really interesting, because I was just talking to my cousin over there just outside about this point, Jayon. Just about this point, actually, we were just discussing about how, how do devotees stay in the community and stay in the movement whilst also having suffered or struggled or even just heard about a lot of problems that go on. So he was asking me this question, and it's really nice that this letter is now being discussed, and I think it is that coming into a community, or especially this community, without the expectation that this is going to be perfect, that I'm not going to, that everyone's pure and we're all going to get along and hold hands, and that expectation from the get-go isn't there. So then when we are met with challenges, it's not because there's malice there, because actually perhaps, these challenges may be coming to us, maybe seeing it from even in a different perspective, that these challenges are coming to us because it's for our growth. But along that, I was sort of having this other thought, playing kind of devil's advocate or thinking from another perspective, is that, Prabhupada is talking about utopia, but I think a lot of devotees want, or suppose they might not even really be looking for utopia, I'm wondering, but they're certainly not expecting to be mistreated or abused or really have a rough time where then they don't want to be in the community at all. So I suppose I'm kind of wanting to kind of put that question across, to Prabhupada, that, okay, yes, perhaps we're not looking for utopia necessarily, and perhaps people don't want to fault find, but we come, with inspiration, and then we get, a lot of people get knocked back in very, very, very harsh, disturbing, horrific ways. So how do we deal with that? Is this kind of question. Perhaps we're not looking for utopia, but we're looking for just civilness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's very important. There's another letter, also a very profound letter that Prabhupada wrote to one of his managers. And he said that Krishna consciousness means to become independently thoughtful. Independently thoughtful. So it means that we're not blind followers. Srila Prabhupada did not want blind followers. And if there is mistreatment, we have a responsibility for ourselves and for others to take solid steps to end that and to rectify it, for sure. Otherwise, that's not independently thoughtful, you know. And of course, in the case of young people where they can't protect themselves and defend themselves, and it's the parents and the adults who are responsible in that way. But it should never be allowed to continue, even in the outside world, what to speak of in a society of aspiring spiritualists. So that's one. There may be other reactions for this. Do you have something you would like to respond?
Hi, so my name is Rupin, and I do feel a little bit out of place here. This isn't my regular crowd, so I'm really happy to speak and put myself out there a little bit just now. So I did think that the letter seemed a bit split into two halves, that there was the first half, which was quite insightful, and the second half, which was useful to share the message of ISKCON. And I did want to discuss the first half, especially I think the second slide mentioned about envy, referring to the comparison between different people, different devotees, and comparing how devoted somebody else is, and then trying to one-up them and be more devoted than somebody else. I thought that was really useful to remember that there isn't really the right way to do things, and you can't be a better devotee than somebody else. And that was really explained well afterwards, throughout the rest of the first half of the letter, when he mentioned about, so the, once we've got through the envy, that there's lots of other situations, I can't remember exactly what it was that I noticed, but there was the comparison. It just it wasn't required. There's a lot of ways that we aren't exactly going to be entirely devoted all of the time. And you mentioned that word utopia. I thought that was really useful to recognize that we might try to find the utopia in other people, and we will look for those faults. That's what I really took away, that there was fault finding that we sometimes do to complain about somebody's lack of complete devotedness. And so I found that really useful to hold that in mind, to remember that we might be able to find faults, but seeking that utopia in other people is rather unfair and not helpful, and actually probably reflecting it back on myself as well, that even seeking that utopia within, and holding myself to an unreasonable standard of perfection doesn't help, and to try to find the good, the healthy, and the useful. And then in the second half of the letter, I found that a bit different. It seemed like there was a bit of a shift towards sharing the message, and I can understand the concept of sort of, finding the most important person in the room and speaking to them about it, and that you only need a few of those people to share the message. I thought that the first half was more like my vibe, and the second half was a bit maybe more directed at spreading the message and sharing.
But we can note that in the second half, Prabhupada gives the encouragement. You are a silent, humble devotee. You're also a very good businessman, so you can reach other businessmen and have effective influence on them so that they also become inspired spiritually. So in that way, he was injecting this recipient, Atreya Rishi, with the desire to serve Krishna through his own talents and his own personality. Yeah. So, as the recipient of this letter, you can imagine that he would have such forward motion after receiving it, and he would really be thrilled to continue his personal journey and to embrace others as he continued. So, yes, please.
I wanted to
yes, please, go back.
Reconnect again with Chaitanya Lila. All the Prabhu's points were really nice. She raised a really
important points.
Important topic.
Yes.
And so she acknowledged, I just want to connect with your point. You acknowledged Prabhu's points about not being malicious, seeing the good, but you're saying that can sometimes leave us vulnerable to abuse because as we're trying so hard not to find fault, we may find ourselves in situations where we're being taken, where there's an abuse going on, some kind of emotional, physical, or other type of abuse going on. So is there a point where we actually stop and say, that's wrong, you're at fault, and this is not, and I'm going to call out the fault, and is that malice? So those weren't your words, but your time has elapsed, so I'm just trying to capture your message. I thought I was trying to complete your points. Concise way, yeah. So I had some thoughts, if I may share. One is that I think the kind of scenario that Vishaka Prabhu may have been raising this was for building community here. Because this community is so variegated. People from every kind of culture have come around the Bhaktivedanta community. And what person from one culture is right, person from another culture, we're all going to be griping about it, why is it this way, why is it that way, And it's not trauma, it's not abuse, it's just not what we want, and the manor has got this incredibly difficult task of trying to accommodate everyone's needs and expectations, and everyone's needs and expectations were just so different. So I think this letter is appropriate in that kind of sense. There is no abuse. There may be things that we feel irked by or annoyed by and something like that. But it's not abuse. And if we can just change our vision from the pettiness of our gripe to the broader picture. My God, okay, it's not the way I would have done it, but look, they're serving Krishna. Isn't that wonderful? Let me be the change I want to see. Let me contribute my bit. And in a nice way, because they're trying so hard. So I think in that scenario, but if there's actual abuse, as Vishaka said, we have to be informed by Shastra how to respond to actual abuse. It has to be stopped. You can't let vulnerable people in any community be hurt. And I just wanted to make another point too. I think each of us has to become the change we want to see. And there's one really nice purport. I'm sorry, Michelle. Can I just add this last thing and I'll stop? And that is that if we want to become the change we want to see, then we have to become good ourselves. We have to come out of ignorance and passion, come to the platform of goodness. And Prabhupada says that's not possible until we learn the culture of good association. So as each of us learns the culture of good association, we can become the change we want to see. And gradually make things better in our society.
Thank you, that was beautiful. I'll just finish, I think we're just about out of time, so I'll just finish with one last point. I was persuaded to take a course called Gaudiya Vaishnav Studies. It's given by the Society in Oxford, Yeah, Oxford Center for Hindu Studies, yeah. So we had one, it's an 8-week course, so one of the weeks is on the Guru studies, and we had many papers to read about the Guru, and then someone who had written a book about As Good as God, that was the title of the book, led us in a discussion about the Guru. So this person, his name is Brigupada. He, in writing this book, he interviewed many, many gurus, contemporary gurus and disciples, and he spent a lot of time in India in the process of doing his research. And his comment to us, amongst many comments, but one that really struck me, was that he saw that in India there was an innate respect that disciples had for their guru and for Vaishnavas generally, in that they would absolutely not criticize them. Even though there may be an apparent fault or a real fault, because of their culture and their training, they would not criticize. Where he said when he came to the West, it was the flip side. Any little thing, oh my goodness, a spark became a blaze, you know. It was like you have a huge white sheet and there's one mark on it, and you just magnify that mark. So he was very struck by that difference in culture and training. And from his point of view, and what he was relaying to us, was that we're not afraid enough of committing offenses to the Vaishnavas. That's so detrimental for our own spiritual growth, that we need to try to train ourselves, as Prabhupada says in this letter, to be optimistic, to see the devotees are so exalted. As Chintamani Dham Prabhu was saying, they're trying to serve Krishna, and that makes them better than kings, the Prabhupada's own words. So that really moved me, which also inspired me to share this letter today, that there are many advantages of being where we are, but there are also disadvantages. And one of the disadvantages is we don't have this rich grounding in respect for the devotees who are centering their lives around Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much to all the participants. Much appreciated. All glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Her Grace Vishaka Prabhu Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Thank you so much, Vishaka Prabhu. That really was very, very powerful. Very, very wonderful discussion. Such a beautiful letter. Thank you so much for bringing that to this evening and sharing that with us and your thoughts. And everyone for a nice discussion as well. Thank you. So we'll continue with some kirtan now. And then we will also, I believe prasadam is going to wrap up being served. If you're hungry and haven't taken, maybe go take now. Otherwise they'll be stopping soon. And we will also shortly do a quiz about Giri Govardhan Maharaj. So if you would like to stay for that, that will be happening just after the kirtan. Hari Hari Bol.
So what do you want me to do? Okay. Oh, thank you.
Hi, well, everyone. We've got an exciting new addition to the room. This beautiful, beautiful display of cards. And soon we'll have Krishna Balaram Govardhan Shilas join us. And we just have this wonderful devotee, Ramanath Shuka, to describe kind of what's happening. And please stay tuned. It's very exciting, very, very cool.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. I was invited a few days ago to attend the kirtan, and I said, well, I hope you can make some arrangement for Giriraj, Govardhan Puja. And I said, yes, sure, bring Giriraj. I said, well, I have kind of an expanded altar, because for taking care of Giriraj, you have to actually try to the best of your ability to establish the mood of Vraj, Vrindavan. So surrounding, I haven't brought them out yet, will be Krishna, Balaram, and the Shivalingam Gopishwar Mahadev, the main deities. And you'll see all the other pieces of artwork are actually in glorification of Krishna and Balaram. So this is actually the third time I've actually been able to do this. I did it twice in Stockholm, Sweden, but now by Krishna's arrangement, here at Govardhan Puja, you'll be able to chant to glorify Govardhan shores. And we're going to have a setup where, there's the flowers, and everyone can come, offer a flower wherever they want to Krishna Balaram or various images or deities that you see, however you like. And then I'm asking everyone who participates in this Pushpa Abhishek, basically an offering of flower, offering of the heart, offering to the deities with the flower. You select one card. Now these cards, I call them my Balaram series. I consider that Balaram actually owns all these cards. Balaram is expanding himself into the cards. So just select the card. It's kind of spontaneous. You don't want to just look around. Just get a card. Take it back, sit with it, look at the card, and understand somehow or other Balaram is giving you a message. Then please bring the card back. It's not a gift. But that's how it will work. Everyone will offer a pushpa offering. You can take your time and look at the cards if you like. It doesn't matter as the kirtan is going on, as the evening goes on. It's meant to be interactive. The best way to look at the cards is actually to look at them closely. But I want everyone to pick one card and then go back and sit with it. And then try and decipher for themselves what is Balaram communicating through this piece of art. It's collage art. Basically what I've done is use a lot of calendars, Back to Godhead magazines, cut up a lot of my own books. And all the images are found images. I didn't print any of the images. I found them, and then the collage, it's a technique called collage. So you see the collage, I embellished them some with different techniques. There's some gold, silver leaf, things like that. I'll be off to the side if anyone wants to talk to me about what I'm doing here also. That's basically it. It's simple. It's spontaneous. It's Govardhan Puja. Hopefully we can enter into a mood of Raj Bhakti and just reciprocate with Dear Raj as you see fit. Thank you.
Jai.
Your mic?
Kevy's going to play harmonium. Yeah. You can play. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyathyadishatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe, Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada. Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Do you want to do kirtan yourself for a little bit? Okay. Yeah.
What's the Wi-Fi code? Do we know?
Kathy is up there, and he will display the Wi-Fi code, the Kahoot quiz. So get your phones ready. And meanwhile, I'm going to come gather these guys. Hello, hello. Does everyone want to come and do a quiz?
What?
Come. Everyone in this room knows that you guys are in this room. They can see you guys right now chilling, so they know you guys aren't at the quiz. I'm sure you guys heard that. Okay, so we are going to get started in just a moment. So what you need is your phone, and Kavi will be there in just a moment to put up the Wi-Fi password, and then guess what? You've got this password forevermore, because I got this password last time we did a Kahoot quiz here. You've got this Wi-Fi password everywhere you go around the manor, you've got Wi-Fi, so it's good. You want to have that.
Then we're going to come back.
So we're just going to wait a moment.
Selling us on the quiz. Based on the Wi-Fi.
You get free Wi-Fi. Not Wi-Fi. Around everywhere. Forever. So don't take the passwords. Next time we'll have like this incredible prize for the
Ooh, that's what
question number 1. What happened in
1973. Let's see.
Huh? Question number 1, what happened in 1973?
Good point. They have that passwords around everywhere.
Is that when the manor was purchased?
I assume.
There's a few. The fire thing there.
I need to know the history to be
Okay, so there's the password for the Wi-Fi. Please quickly connect if you don't have good service here or if you want the Wi-Fi access for the rest of the time at the manor. Let me know when you guys are done. All right, we've got our first starter, Yogi. He looks like a ghost, so maybe he's not actually there. So all you have to do is go in and type on your Safari or Chrome or whichever on your phone, kahoot.it, and that will take you to a page where you can put in this PIN code. And we'll see your guys' names appear as you join.
Is it possible? Manor with a capital M, 1973. And it's, yes, I'm
The
guessing
game
network.
pin is just at the top there, those set of
Dear
numbers.
Sanj, you've done Bhakti Shastri. You should know this. The back of your hand. Yeah! Hey, is this being like telecasted and stuff?
Wait, the mud bug.
Can't make rude jokes. What direction was Krishna looking when he was under there?
Honey. Honey cat, really? Fun, okay. Anyone can join. Amazing. Everyone join from online as well. Javeri.
Oh, people are online.
Yeah, people are seeing the stream and they're joining in.
Oh,
We've got a bunch of
This competition will be stiff, guys, amongst 6 of you. We'll wait for a couple more minutes for any last minute joiners.
We need teamwork on this, bro.
Oh, I thought we were going to compete.
No, it's us versus the internet.
Yeah, let's do it.
Wait for a few more. Sanj, try out.
Oi, the people who are at home, you can't be Googling, yeah?
Exactly.
Take you too long to go. You got only a few seconds to answer.
Okay, good. And also, Krishna's watching.
Krishna knows. We've got Rama.
Yo, Krishna was the biggest cheater. That's cool.
Who else? Nikula, do you want to join? We'll wait for you. For those of you who are online, you can also join. Please feel free to join. All right. I think we're going to start. I'm going to wait for Nikula to quickly join, and we're going to start.
What's the ghost thing? Ghost? I think that's Yogi.
Ghost was Yogi who was testing it, so he's not here anymore. He was. All right. Nakula, we're all set. We've got our most important player just joined. All right, let's start. So these questions are timed, so you have to answer quickly. And there's some tricky ones too. All right, they're about Govardhan and this beautiful pastime, Krishna lifting up Govardhan Hill. So this is a multi-select. Why are the coward men doing the sacrifice for Indra? To thank Indra for giving the sunshine, to thank Indra for giving the rain, to ask for gold, to make Krishna jealous. What's it gonna be?
Pretty sure it's gold, yeah?
Yeah. Thank Indra for giving rain. Very, very good, guys. Also, Krishna did get very, very jealous of this, which we'll find out why soon. Oh, you got Javeri in the lead. He's on it. So competitive.
You get points for being faster?
You get points for being the fastest. So you have to answer as quickly as possible. What was Krishna's reason for foregoing the sacrifices to Indra? He wanted Balaram to take Indra's place.
God damn it, I got both right. That's it. Isn't it?
Yeah?
Lost.
We're all on the same page? All right, preparing on fire. Quick fingers, guys. Let's catch up. Next question. Who were the clouds sent to harass the Brajvasis? English clouds, thunderstorm clouds, Shamataka clouds, or Samvartaka clouds?
Oh no! What a tricky one. Back.
This one might catch you. Very good.
Pepper.
Samvartaka clouds. Woo! Oi, Sanj, take the lead. Pray I'll just end it up. Fire rained in the sky during Indra's assault. Is that true or false?
Talking about the fast thumbs, eh?
Fire rained.
Fire rained.
Did it? Fire.
It did not.
No.
Rained from the sky.
Also
Also, shards of ice fell from the sky, and actually, apparently, Indra brought the temperature below freezing. So it was like freezing shards of rain was falling.
Oh wow.
Tricky scene.
Pretty incredible.
See, I'm gonna catch up now.
Oh, Praya! Who's Praya? Hey, very
Good
good.
stuff. Can we sabotage on this?
Krishna and Govardhana have the same personality. Now this is a tricky question.
Access, yes and no.
I know.
Dude, this could be like.
Let's see.
This is a
It's a
debate
very
question.
tricky question.
All right.
We should have had another option. It's both. The answer is true, but it also is. They are also not.
It's a ginger baby.
Yes, exactly. Simultaneously the same and different.
Watch this, Sanj. Watch this.
Oh, he's back on the leaderboard.
He doesn't get stuck, man. Which finger did Krishna use to lift Govardhan? Index finger left hand, all fingers both hands, pinky finger left hand, pinky finger right hand.
Easy.
Pinky finger left hand. Oi, picture right and left. Hans Sweeney and Cyril definitely catching up. Underneath Govardhan Hill, there was a botanical garden in the center of the earth, mud and roots. It's a hill, after all, a subterranean valley with a mosaic of gems on the floor.
Oh man.
What the hell? I'm just going trigger happy. Yeah, I'm just going with that most random one there. Trigger happy.
It was, according to Navagrata Mandala, a beautiful subterranean valley with gems on the floor. But very good. It was probably also one of roots. So let's choose that one.
Bhakti Shastri paying off.
Okay. How many days and nights was Govardhan held for? 1 day, 20 minutes, and then the Lord got tired? 24 days or 7 days?
20 minutes.
7 days. Very good. Everyone did that one. Very, very good. He was the fastest though. Wait, Sam was too quick.
Who wrote these questions?
Happy and I. How old was Krishna when he lifted up Govardhan Hill? 15 years old, 6 years old, 4 years old,
Press
7
submit.
years old.
Mother.
Wait,
Oh.
7 years old.
Yes.
Too very
My
good.
God.
Rama, though, the highest ancestry, 7. Very good. Where was Govardhan originally from? Hemalhamsa Dweepa, Sal Mali Dweepa, Sundari Mali Dweepa, or the Himalayas? Tricky question.
Maybe one of those S's.
It'll be the Dweepas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put Himalayas, but.
Same here.
Which one? Everyone answer. Ah, there we go.
Oh.
Sal Mali Dweepa.
Right.
And actually, I learned this today because I actually thought he was from the Himalayas.
Yeah.
But maybe this is somewhere in the Himalayas. I'm not sure. Not sure exactly where it's from. Oh, yeah, very. Somehow you're very new.
I don't know that.
Did he get it wrong?
Put Himalayas.
Oh. Still far ahead of everyone else. Govardhan's other name is Satya Shringa. What does that mean? 100 majestic peaks, hovering mountain that adorns the crown, shrinking mountain.
Shrinka. Shringa.
What does Sut mean?
Oh,
Very good. That was another one I learned today. That was really cool.
Hansini and Sir.
Who's
Are they
that?
online?
Is that you guys over there?
Pretty online.
Oh, maybe it's online. Very good. You guys are online. Very, very good. You're on the lead.
No Google.
Govardhan was originally 3 miles high. Is that true or false?
It was way big.
Yeah. Come on. I'm gonna go with Song. We could be.
Sorry. It was false. He's actually 64 miles high. I can't even imagine mountain. I mean, I don't even know how high the Himalayas are.
They're definitely less than 64 miles.
Less than 64.
Yeah, 8 kilometers.
Like beyond what you can see, your kind of that high. Oi, Madba!
Dark horse.
Blashamuni cursed Govardhan too. Decreased by 1 mustard seed a day, decreased by 100 sesame seeds a day, decreased by 1 football pitch per year, decreased by 1 mango seed a fortnight.
No sesame?
Oh,
good.
I did it right.
I like mustard.
I'm
trying to go for speed, man. I'm not going for
So imagine from 64 miles high to like 1/5 of a mile high or something. It's like not high at all. The very high peak is not high. So it's pretty incredible. Hey, Question 14. Double points. His peak of Govardhan, his peak. In his peak, Govardhan's afternoon shadow would reach where? Vrindavan, Radhakan, Krishna Mandir, Mathura. This is when he was 64 miles high, I suppose? Not anymore. In his peak.
Yeah.
I think we got this from the Navavaja Mahima, written by Mathura! So it's huge. My goodness, that's far. Oh, Madhva knew. Govardhan stones would melt and Krishna and Balaram would walk on them. Is this true or false?
As quick as that. How quick was that?
Yeah, you know it was.
That was big. How fast can you answer that one?
Yeah.
Of course, they would melt. Krishna and Balaram's lotus feet would step on them. It is true.
But you're still in front.
So very, very close behind.
Watch your back.
At one point, Govardhan started to shake. Why was this? The cowboys made fun of Krishna and his ship. The gopis glanced at Krishna and made him tremble by their loving glance. Krishna started to fatigue just slightly due to hunger. Indra was sending down the most powerful weapons and shook the hill.
This is a guess.
What could it be? The gopis glanced at Krishna and made him tremble by their loving glance. Oh,
Javeri, you just overtook me. You were quicker.
She knew what she
Quicker
knew.
off the mark.
1 point.
I need to.
True or false? Only 2 questions left. Double points. Krishna entered a cave in order to lift Govardhan Hill. Is it true or false?
Oh! Yes! Did you go right? No!
A sneaky little side fact. Apparently he entered a cave and lifted from there.
Oh, you asked it. There's no coming back from that.
That was a double point and tricky.
There's no coming back from that. No,